Welcome to episode 11 of Beyond Zero's podcast. Coming up.
Bathi xana begqiba ndroba bandithatha bandikhwelisa kweli cingo bandifostela into ndikhwele kweli cingo babe bendihlaba ngemela apha ezimpondweni.
Violence is a cycle. And to stop that cycle, you need to help people heal. You need to turn victims into survivors. Research has shown that current perpetrators, if they look into their childhood, they normally majority of them experience abuse in their childhood.
In most cases, like perpetrators are usually someone you know. Those are the types of cases that we have encountered, within the human rights program. But you'll find that with young people, they're uninformed about what's happening, or their families will try. I'm not saying all families. I'm not generalizing, but to say that some families will, suppress, what has happened.
Make sure that you are safe. There's no perpetrator in the house. There's no perpetrator following you. So ensure safety. Ensure that then injuries, is there life-threatening injuries? If so, get to a hospital or call an ambulance. So your life is more valuable at that stage. So you need to get to a hospital if there's serious injuries. If not, then you can go to your nearest police station.
Today, we will be discussing post-violence support with Yanga Mqoboli.
Hello everyone, my name is Yanga. Welcome to the Say It, Let's Talk broadcast brought to you by Beyond Zero. And Shelly no Rachel, Sweetness, and no sis waka Beyond Zero. Namhlanje sizawuthetha ngegender violence support. Ndifuna sawubuza kuqala ku sis Rochelle. Sis Rochelle, welcome. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Oh, good. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yes. Hello, Sisi. How are you?
Ndiyaphila bhuti njani?
Ndiyaphila nam Sisi akhondo. Rochelle, can you tell us about yourself and why you are here?
Okay.
Yes.
I'm here today because to speak about post-violence care.
Yes.
I'm working for a rape crisis center based in North End in Port Elizabeth.
Okay.
We are based in Tutuzela Care Center in Dorankinza.
Okay.
We provide post-violence care there at the Tutuzela Care Center for survivors of sexual violence.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Hi Sisi njani?
Ndiyaphila bhuti akhona kosekunjani?
Ndiyavuya man, ndiyavuya ukubona. Sisi wami ndingiyanga bese ndishilo. Sisi wami soyivile le topic ithini. Masincokole Sisi wami, andiyazi noba wake wa experience lento before okanye ikhona into yaziyo yakenzeka before kuwe.
Okay ke bhuti nam ndithatha ixesha ndibulise nakubaphulaphuli ndibulise nakubantu ndihamba nabo. Bhuti wam ewe yake ndehlela into ngaphambili. Yake ndahlela ngaphambili. Ukwenzeka koku ndizihambela kwindawo zam ndisiya kwindawo yolonwabo. So kuthini xa ndisiya kule ndawo yokonwabo kwavele kweqe otsotsi sababiza bangotsotsi which is babe bathathu. Okay, ebubuthatheni babo ndandihamba kwindlela yayifuphu kunye necawa le ndlela ndandihamba kuyo.
Yes.
Which is okwenzeka abafana beza baya bandroba qala ifone ndandiphethe ifone yayisi 200 Siemens ngela xesha.
Yo, andifuna ubuza age.
Kwakudala ngoko ke ndiphethe lo Siemens baya bandroba ke. So le cawa yayisakhiwa le cawa ngela xesha. So ile cawa inecingo eliphezulu. Uyayibona? Now bathi xana begqiba ndroba bandithatha bandikhwelisa kweli cingo bandifostela into ndikhwele kweli cingo. Babe bendihlaba ngemela apha ezimpondweni ndinekhathi yabo apha ezimpondweni.
Ndiyakuva Sisi wami. Before that andithuthi wawuzihambela. Ubabone besekude okanye ubabone sebe close?
Yeah, ilandawo yayi open space which is yayindawo yayinethafa.
How many of them?
Yeah, babe bathathu.
Okay.
Babe bathathu. All right. So eza ke apha kumo ke so bandithatha ke bantsibisa elicingo.
Yo.
Sangena phakathi kule cawa. The way abanganantloni ngaso abantu bakuthi. Sangena kule cawa. After singenile kule cawa baya ndlovela into bamandikhulule. Impahla endandinxibile.
Yenzeke ebusuku lento.
Kwakusebusuku, it was around about 10 to 11. So baya bandindlovela, they forced me uba mandikhulule impahla, ndayikhulula because babe bemphezu kwami bephethe ezimela.
The three of them.
3 of them. So into yokuqala eyaye yafika kum nesebendihlabile ngemela already embondweni, which is
Sebehlabile.
Ndiyopha, ne? Andiyazi enye abayicingayo bangenza ntoni kwakhona.
So when did you try to stop them okanye usawubona sowunikezela okanye?
The moment bendihlaba ndazixela into yoba ngabana apha ne mandibe kule level bakuyo nabo ukwenzela into yoba ndizokwazi usindisa okobomi bam.
Bakho.
Alright, bandifaka ke kule cawa baya bandlwengula phakathi ecaweni betshintshisana ngam
The three of them.
bobathathu.
Yo siswam ndiyakuva. And then ke ngoku that moment kusenzeka lento bagqibile yonke uyenza lento. So what was the reaction? Intoni owaqale wayenza because akukho umuntu moso around andithi. Akho mapolisa akho ndoni. Kwaye kwenzeka ntoni after bemkile?
Okay, after begqibela ukwenza yento ke baya bandishiya musecaweni ndaphakama ndaphuma ndagoduka andabisaya kule ndawo bendisiya kuyo ndibuyela back endlini ke ngoku ndafika endlini ndafika ndayichaza kwakusister wam. Ndafika ndayichaza lo sister wam safowunela amapolisa. After sifowunile amapolisa ayafika. Bandithatha bandisaya esibhedlele, which is isibhedlele seTinarha Provincial Hospital. So phayana ke ndenziwa eza tests. Kukona i-test ozenziwayo most after ufumene i-rape oqala ndibakunike neza pills la treatment bakunika yona. And it was not the first time ndifumana i-case njena. It was the first time but ndiye ndaphinda kwesibini ndafumana i-case esimilar kwakulena masensithi efanayo nale.
Efanayo.
Yes. So I'm a victim of rape 2 times.
2 times.
2 times. All right, so baya banceda ke abantu basesibhedlele and then ke ngoku emveni koko ndaya ndagoduka. Ngela xesha ke kwakusekho amadlozi.
What is amadlozi now?
We were calling them amadlozi, but it was the anti-crime fighters.
Oh, for community.
For community.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Then kuba mosine.
Oh, xa uthetha ngamadlozi kaloku thina sicingela kwelicala lamagqirha. Oh.
So ke ngoku sayi reportele case kubo after sisukile ke sisibhedlele mosine. Ngilaka nyani ke kwaye kwakho umkhondo ovakalayo kuba yenzeke kula area. So ubhuti lona wayeyinhloko yaba bantu baphaya.
Okay. Ndifuna uyibamba kakuhle lento sisi. Before uye kumadlozi, andithi mosi there was a case emapoliseni. Amapolisa aye athini okanye uye emadlozini xa ubona ba this is not working.
Okay.
Indima yamapolisa okanye
No. Okay, sorry. Amapolisa ne ayithathela kuwo i-case fine bathi bazawuphanda. Uzawuphandwa.
Okay.
Yebo, kuba bathi kuzawuphandwa. Ndawe ndimdescribe omnye wabo because ndiyamazi. Omnye wabo phakubo. So amapolisa ayingenelele and then ke ngoku kwaye kwakho umkhondo ovakalayo osuka kwi-community. Bakukho ifone efana nale yam ethengiswayo.
So bathatha nefone.
Yes. So i-anti-crime fighters ayakla area nyani ke kwathiwa nguye nyani uchaza ifone ifumene phi wabe ebethwa ke ngamadlozi.
Amadlozi.
Yes, wabethwa ngamadlozi. Babe bathathu mos omnye wabalekiswa ngumama wakhe wahamba. So omnye abayithu babanjwa lokho.
Okay, siswam. Yo. I'm very, very emotional now. I want to go back to I want to go back to Rochelle. Rochelle, how did you meet Sweetness?
Okay, I've met Sweetness through her recent case.
Okay.
So she received services from Tutuzela, where we render services, the post-violence care services, and she received her counseling services there. And that's how I met her.
So it's like a program.
Yes. So what we render services there, and what the post-violence care entails is it's all the services and care that you will need after your incident of violence. So it's your trauma containment, your HIV testing, TB and STI screening, and long-term counseling. So we always say that counseling is not necessarily going to be helpful on the first day of your trauma because you're traumatized. So that's where we do trauma containment. And it's very important. It's very important for various reasons. One of the first reasons why it's so important to get this post-violence care is violence is a cycle.
Yeah, it is.
And to stop that cycle, you need to help people heal. You need to turn victims into survivors. Research has shown that current perpetrators, if they look into their childhood, they normally majority of them experience abuse in their childhood. So childhood abuse, and then they become perpetrators. So to prevent victims to becoming perpetrators, we need to help them heal and stop that cycle of violence. And lastly, health is another reason why it's so important to get post-violence care is the HIV, to test for HIV. If you know your status, you can drink your necessary medication. And if you drink your medication, the virus will be undetectable in your blood. If it's undetectable in your blood, you can't infect another person. So that's how we can stop that cycle as well. And lastly, for justice for our survivors, and to prosecute those perpetrators that is committing these crimes.
Oh, all right. Siswam, let me go back. I saw story proof. It's a reality, and it's something eyenzekayo and ebuhlungu kuwe. I want us to take us back through the process. Njengoba ibesisho Rachel, but sometimes you need the counseling zonke ezazinto. After kwenzekile yonke lento uhamba namapolisa kwakunjani like kwakunjani kuwe njengomntu mose before kwenzeke lento ubungumntana oziphilelayo eareeni uyayiva ne eareeni but ke ngokwenzeke lento and ke ngosistigma ebantwini. I'm not sure noba bakhona abantu abachazelayo beside ngaphandle kwefamily yakho. So ndibawela uyazi into yoba around the area now that kwenzeke lento and urejiwe zonke ezazinto kwakunjani kuwe?
Kwakungekho lula but okokuqala kwakungekho lula, but luckily ndafumana i-counselling ezibana ngoku ukuze ndidibane uRochelle ndidibana naye kule case yam yesibini, which is I was unfairly treated ngamapolisa after le case yam yesibini.
Kule yesibini?
Yes, which is on the 10th of July.
Okay.
Because there was also a case efana nalena ke ngoku bendibalisa kuqala. Ndahamba naye police station uyoreporta i-case, immediately ndibuya ndisuka eMonti because le case yenzeka phi eKing asemasela yenze njalo because bandikhumbula kakuhle la bhoti ndandibonile Masela or Masele andisayikhumbuli kakuhle igama layo. Kulapho ke ngondaya ndaphinda ndafumana vele ke ndibuya eMonti emathambeni ndafumana vele ukudlwengulwa ngabafana
again.
Ndahamba ndabheka emapoliseni, polisakazi elalinceda lathi kum alikwazi ukundivulela case mandibuyele back kule ndawo ibisenzeka kuyo into.
Uzawubuyela njani?
I don't know. Andakwazi ubuyela ke ngoku endaya ndahlala. After that ndiye ndangumuntu ohle nje ndizivalele endlini. Andifuni izilights, andifuni
yes, ndiyayiqonda the trauma,
commit suicide. Then ke ngoku ndalentuka ndafonela imedical yam ndabheka kwagqirha, ugqirha wandixelela ke wanditransferela to uThuthuzela. After ndifike eThuthuzela ndiye ndafumana uncedo kusisi igama endilibala nje igama lakhe usisi kodwa shemshi ngoyena yena undenze ndastrong usisi wathetha kunye nami. Bekungekho lula.
Okay, so ngoku uya kuthuthuzela so yazi imeko ye status sakho. So yazi. How did you feel?
But into enzekayo ne after lanto yonke into oqala ndafika ndathatha ipilisi yam ndasela ipilisi yam because I know my status I'm sitting, I'm a HIV positive person. After the case yami rape yoqala ndaye ndafumaniseka into ngabana ndiyachaphazeleka. Yes. And then ke ngoku kuthe emva kwesisehlo sinifumene sesibini ndasela ipilisi yam ndabhekela epolice station kulapho ngakhange ndikwazi ufumana khona uncedo. ndancedwa yi-medical ke ngoku i-medical yandisa eThuthuzela. Kulapho ke ngoku uncedo ndolufumana khona eThuthuzela, ndihamba ndandise kwi-process ezo zabo, ndatsalwa amagazi, ndenziwa yonke into. Kulapho ndizodibana khona noRochelle.
Yho, heyi inzima le nto sisi wam, intlungu le nto ndiyivayo.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, honestly.
It's heartbreaking. But ndibawela ukuva from your side, sisi wam, kwiimeko ezinje as Beyond Zero, and I'm sure niyadibana nazo ezinto ingakumbi kwi-community. Can you tell us kwimeko ezilolu hlobo, because inzima imeko kasisi?
No, I think firstly I'll just introduce myself. Hi everyone, my name is Zolandlela. I'm from Beyond Zero. I'm the Human Rights Program Officer. I think I'll also just, give a bit of background context about Beyond Zero. So at Beyond Zero, we have quite a number of programs. So we have the Human Rights Program, which is what I'll be, mostly speaking about in relation to, the incident, the dreadful incident in which, you encountered. We also have the AYP program, which, has a component that deals with, post-violence care, which is also, part of, what you experienced. So firstly, just to begin by saying, what you went through is, heartbreaking, doesn't even begin to explain it, I'm very sorry about that. I have no words for it. So when it comes to the human rights, program, we deal with a number of, human rights violations. And, what you experience is a gross, human rights violation. It's not even one, it's actually quite a number of, human rights violations in which you encountered. But it's also, I would say it's also great to know that you were able to, go to a Thuthuzela Care Center, because it's also one of our many SRs that, provide, counseling support services, amongst other support services that we have from, other organizations which are, contracted under Beyond Zero to implement the AYP, Adolescents and Young People's program, as well as the Human Rights program. And we also have other programs within Beyond Zero. So also, I think it's quite shocking and very upsetting, to hear you explain that, law enforcement, specifically the SAPS, was unable to do you justice. We get so many cases within our program that speak of, the injustices that, key and priority populations encounter on a daily basis. I don't know if I mentioned that, all our programs, deal with key and vulnerable populations or key and priority populations. And just to name some of those key and, priority populations that we deal with, we have adolescents and young people. We have TGs, which are transgender people. We also work with the LGBTQIA plus community, people living with HIV, sex workers, just to name a few. And, within the human rights program, what we're also dealing with is sensitizing, as well as training law enforcement agents. We're sensitizing them on the importance of human rights, not just for, the community in general, but also human rights specifically for key populations, because they are the ones that get violated the most. And the current policies and laws that we have today in South Africa, they do injustice, to key populations. So with, exactly what you went through, it's, one of the key focus areas that we're trying to, lessen. We've come a long way, but there's still so much that needs to be done. And as Beyond Zero, we have our mark, we have our footprint in terms of, trying to cater for justice, advocate and fight for justice when it comes to key priority populations and as well as social impact. So we are training, law enforcement agents, including SAPS, to be more sensitive and more accommodating when it comes to, key and vulnerable populations, especially to do with, GBV. But like I said, there's still a very long way to go. And also, it's just also, it's very shocking to hear that you were unable to open it there and there. I mean, I'm here now. Why can't I get assistance, to open my case?
Yes.
Why do I still need to travel, long kilometers to open up a case? It really doesn't make sense. And you also speak about, the justice system. I completely agree in, you saying that it's quite flawed. Our justice system here in South Africa, it really, I don't know, it's picky, it's choosy, it doesn't cater for all.
You must know someone.
Yes, not even that.
Yeah.
Not even just knowing someone. I don't even think it's that. I think it just boils down to, the government just needs to do more, to be quite honest. But I think also in the community, we also just need to do more in terms of our, our communities that we live in. But that's where our programs also, I'm just drawing it back to, what we also do as Beyond Zero. Like I said, our SRs, our program as well, we're also doing a lot of awareness campaigns. I just have to commend you on, being, courageous enough to share, what happened to you, to also encourage, other people out there to also be willing to come forward and, don't silence their voices on what happened, because I strongly believe that if more people were to come forward, there would be more impact. Maybe, governments would take affirmative action in, reforming some of the policies and the laws that we have today that don't speak on what the reality currently is. But also just to mention, the work that's also being done by the TCCs. I think it's also great that you were very knowledgeable about that, and you were aware that there is a TCC center, Tutuzele Care Center, sorry for the abbreviations, that you were able to go to and seek assistance. And, like Rochelle said, healing is not a once-off process. It definitely takes time. There are triggers. You do get setbacks every now and again, but I really hope you are, seeking, counseling support. And it's a very, what you went through, honestly, it's you far from, healing. But please, continue, encouraging other people within your community to also be, bold enough to just come forward and, share as
thank
well.
you, Siswam. What I've noticed, Siswam, is that especially the young girls, I don't know about Sisi Wainangapi that time. Abafunu uthetha. They don't want to speak out. And sometimes they will speak out mhlawumbi umntu after 5 years. And lando kufumaniseka kuba seyindala yayibo seyindala lando so ndifuna uva apha kuni with ku Beyond Zero anike nihlangane ne challenge ezinjalo kubantwana mhlawumbe kufumaniseka kuba we're young at that time kusenzeka lento, you understand, wayemncinci that time, and then after 5 years kufumaniseka kuba no man kwenzeka something elolu hlobo likasisi. So anike nidibane nezinto ezinjalo.
No, absolutely. You're spot on in saying that you do get, young people, very young people who are, I don't want to say, ashamed for a lack of a better word, but some of them are just uninformed, for example. Or sometimes you find that, in fact, not even sometimes, in most cases, you'll find that it also comes down to your family. Some families, if, for example, someone has been sexually violated or sexually harassed, whether it's from a perpetrator that's, from outside of the family, in most cases, like, perpetrators are usually someone Those are the types of cases that we have encountered, within the human rights program. But you'll find that with young people, they're uninformed about what's happening, or, their families will try. I'm not saying all families, I'm not generalizing, but to say that some families will, suppress, what has happened. For example, you'll get imdeni that will say, no, we'll discuss it within the family, if maybe the perpetrator's the uncle, the brother, or, just to name a few. But, having said that, young people as well, they face a lot of stigmas, a lot of discrimination from their own peers, even, regarding just knowing their status or, going for testing services. Some of them will, say that, oh, you're going to get tested for HIV. For example, what have you been doing? They'll start mocking each other, for example. So I think it's the many stigmas and the stereotypes and just the negative connotations that are just attached, to being violated or to, testing or knowing your status as a young person. But also just above that, I think it's also you also mentioned, mental health, that it led you to, attempting suicide. I think we don't speak too much. We don't speak a lot about mental health. And right now, mental health is, quite prevalent, especially amongst, young people. So I think it's important to bring out that that element of mental health, that it is a reality, it is happening. Most importantly, just sensitizing and, bringing out more awareness, not just towards young people, but also just the community, the families at large. And, that's where Beyond Zero also comes in. Under the AYP program, we have in and out of school, the organizations that are, implementing on the AYP program as well as the human rights program. They conduct, awarenesses, a lot of outreach is done, whereby they're speaking about the importance of, knowing your status and, being okay with that, regardless of what the outcome is, getting counseling services, despite, what the outcome of your status is, which is quite important. But just above that as well, just sensitizing communities. So the sensitizations, the trainings that are happening, they don't just cater to, law enforcement agents or just civil servants, but they also rope in, families, the communities at large. Because if, for example, I know my status, I would need my, family to be there to, be in support of me, my colleagues, for example. So it's very broad, that the work that is done by Beyond Zero, by the programs at Beyond Zero, we literally go beyond zero. And we're breaking down barriers. The human rights program is centered around breaking down barriers that, prohibit key populations from accessing, quality health services and services, in general. So that's what, Beyond Zero is about. Like the name itself, it's very vast, it's very impactful. Under the human rights program, we also have a tagline, which is, hashtag Beyond Silence. And that's exactly what we want. What you are telling us today, it's not just a story, to be quite honest. Some people would just find it as a story, you being motivational, but no, it's actually something that happened to you, and what you're sharing could honestly empower someone who is sitting in a corner and not knowing what to do. Also, just to, lastly, just to end off, I know I'm speaking a lot, but I think what needs to be done more, I think it's just a call to action, for the government to also introduce, I know it's already part of the curriculum, but also just to, reinforce the importance of knowing your status, knowing not just preventative methods, because I think in South Africa, that's what is preached more, just know how to prevent. But what if, you encounter, you've had an encounter that's way out of your control? They also need to, instill that, establish programs, not just in school or within the curriculum, but young people are mostly on social media. They are heavily influenced by social media. So maybe just also having, on social media programs that speak about the reality that is happening, human trafficking, mental health, bullying as well. Bullying is huge. And, having gone through whatever ordeal you would have experienced, you may encounter bullying as well. And recently the government, of South Africa passed the hate crimes bill, which, prevents people, you can be criminalized for bullying. So at least that's a step in the right direction. But Beyond Zero is doing quite a lot, but not to say that that's where we end. There's quite more that needs to be done. So also just collaborating with other organizations, we're very much into that as well. Linking, our clients, our beneficiaries, we don't refer to them as victims. Our beneficiaries to other services is also, part of what Beyond Zero does. I hope I've answered.
Rochelle, can you take us through your programs? You mentioned you have programs with the situations like this. Can you take us through?
Okay, so let me start with from the beginning. So if someone that experienced sexual violence, like Sweetness did,
Yes.
There's different scenarios. So firstly, you need to establish safety. So make sure that you are safe. There's no perpetrator in the house. There's no perpetrator following you. So ensure safety. Ensure that then injuries, is there life-threatening injuries? If so, get to a hospital or call an ambulance. So your life is more valuable at that stage. So you need to get to a hospital if there's serious injuries. If not, then you can go to your nearest police station. However, like we heard now, there are incidents where people don't get help. So you are more than welcome to just come directly to the Tuduzela Care Center and receive your help there. What will happen when you get to the Tuduzela Care Center is you'll be received by a first responder, which is social auxiliary workers. They are being employed by the Rape Crisis Center, which is a partner of Beyond Zero.
Yes.
So the first responders will then provide trauma containment to the survivor. Make them comfortable, make them feel that they are safe and they can speak. They will then, they obviously build a relationship with the survivor then, the first responder.
Yeah.
So they will build a relationship and the first responder, the victim will feel comfortable with the first responder. Or that is the goal.
So any campaigns or how do we contact you guys? Let's say something happened like in East London. In East London.
Okay.
Remember, no phone, like no contacts.
Okay, firstly, can I just finish what will happen after the trauma containment and then I'll get there. Sorry to disrupt you there. But after the trauma containment, after this, the first responder have seen the client, where we get involved, then the client will go and get a medical examination done. So there, the HIV test will be done by the first responder also, and the doctor will do an examination to get evidence and make sure the person was raped and the person is fine, but gather all kinds of evidence.
Okay.
Then the police will also get involved. The police will come directly to the Tuduzela Care Center.
Okay.
For some police stations, we have police on site that will do the docket and take it further.
Inside the hospital.
Yeah. So the whole aim of the Tuduzela, the blueprint, was to have all these services under one roof. The police, Department of Health, NGO, which is Rape Crisis Center and Beyond Zero, and then our other partners also DSD. So we do have social workers for long-term counseling that will help survivors of sexual violence. So then after the case has been opened, the client will be transported by the police home, where they will then go to the crime scene, depending on when did it happen.
Okay.
If you were raped 10 years ago, it's never too late to report. You can come and you can report. Then, yes, you won't go through the medical examination, but then you will definitely get counseling and other services. If you were raped now, some of the services that we also do, like I mentioned earlier, is the HIV testing. Very important to know your status. People are scared to know their status, but if you know it, you can do something about it.
It's true.
If you're HIV positive, you anyways HIV positive whether you know it or not. But your health is just deteriorating without you knowing. If you know, you can take medication and you can do something about it. So that is some of the service that you do. And then we also screen for STI and TB. Yes, and the Department of Health will then provide them with medication if they are infected with or they are test positive for STI. and TB. Okay. So for those who are HIV negative, when we test them, when the first responder test them and they're HIV negative, we provide them with PEP.
Okay.
And that is 28 tablets. That's post-exposure prophylaxis. So 28 tablets. So that will help them prevent HIV infection.
Okay. So is it only the private hospital or is it only the public hospital? How does it work? Are you guys based
We are based at
at
Doranginza.
Doranginza? So
Which is-
only Doranginza.
Yes. But
Okay.
the whole metro, we service the whole metro.
Okay. So even if
You come
let's
from...
say let's say the victim is in Greenacres Hospital.
They will go... If they're in Green Acres Hospital, they can get the services there.
Okay.
Our first responders can still go out and render services there, but the doctors there can still do the examination, etc. But our police will go out and do, the police of the Tutuzela will still go open the case there.
Okay.
However, we do try to advise people that Tutuzela Care Center focuses only on sexual violence. So our doctors is used to testifying in court, etc. So if you can, rather
Okay.
come to Tutuzela.
All right. So do you guys have social angles?
Yes, we do have a Facebook page, Rape Crisis Center PE. And then the contact details of Rape Crisis Center is that they are based in North End.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
In Governor Becky Avenue. And you can contact them, and you can also contact Tutuzela Care Center at 041-406-4112, and they are based in Doranginza.
Okay. Rochelle, as a young man, I want to ask, yes, like with the whole process, yes, because I've noticed, especially the young men, the young guys, the young men, they don't speak out. You understand? Do we have to go through all the process, or how does it work?
Yes, they go through exactly the same process as females.
Okay.
Yes, there is a stigma. Men don't want to report.
Yes.
So I've heard of incidents where men were laughed at. But remember, if you are hijacked, that's just an example, and there's 4 guys with guns, there's nothing that you can do. So, and I know that a lot of survivors have told me in the past that they don't feel like a man now, and they couldn't stand up for themselves. But imagine there's 4 or 5 people with they're armed with guns and weapons. There's nothing that you can do. So yes, we need to put the message out there for men to report. Because the more people report, the more the word is going to get out there that I'm not the only one. This is happening to other men. Our stats is very high with young males in schools and young boys, which generally will be boys perpetrating on one another. So they saw something, or maybe one person was a survivor in the family, maybe an uncle or a father or someone, and then he will go and perpetrate in the schools. So yes, and they follow the exact same process. The only difference will be they won't get the emergency contraception because they're males, but they will definitely go through the whole system of PEP, etc. So they also need to report as soon as possible and within 72 hours.
Thank you. I want us to go back to Sweetness. Sweetness, Siswam, inzima lento. But I want to ask Siswam, with someone now who's watching at home, ezilalini, mna ndisuka ezilalini, eXhorha, apho isibhedlele uhamba I don't know how many minutes. Sometimes akubikho ndlela. Uhambe ngehashi. Uyayiva ne? So ulimele. Ndifuna ukuva kuwe into yoba now that kwenzeke this thing kuwe, yintoni ono, especially the young girls, yintoni onobafundisa yona, especially le trauma ilo hlobo, naba bangakwazi ukhuluma uthetha xa behlelwe zezi ngxaki zelo hlobo. So intoni onobafundisa yona for someone obukeleyo ngoku ngeli xesha?
Okay, enkosi ke bhuti. Ndizawuthi mna okokuqala ndifuna uqala kule ndawo. Akekho umuntu okudalileyo ukuba ngamahlelwe into efana nalena mina ndihleleyo. Ngoba ayikumnandanga. Okwesibini, akekho umuntu onelungelo lokuba azindlovele to force himself or herself kuwe esiqweni sakho. Namalungelo wakho. Umuntu case efana nale yam. Eyami ingcebiso mna ithi kukuphakama okokuqala. Ukuba ungumntana kukho umuntu okwazi ukuncokola naye apha phakathi endlini, okwazi ukuvana naye. Ayayazi mosapha endlini kukho lo uqombe lo uyamonqena uyamoyika, ubekho lo ukwazi ufikeleleka. Zama usondele kulo ufikelelekayo apha endlini. Ukuba akekho at all. Umzekelo kule yami case mna ndaya ndakwazi mabe ndichaza nakumisi esikolweni. Utitsha bathi ngoditsha xa bebabizi. So uyakwazi ureporta icase efana nala kutitsha. If bangabana ukwazi ureporta phakathi endlini. Iphinde kwakhona kubaleke kakhulu kuba ngabana uthi xa usahlelwe yilento phakama ubheke emapoliseni. Uthi xa ungalifumana uncedo emapoliseni eziba ebesitsho uRochelle bakukhona ithuthuzela ezindawo zinceda yazingezinye ngoba sometimes amapolisa asifeyila dismal ayasifeyila amapolisa kakhulu leyo indawo ndifuna ukuyibeka ecace. So ke ngoku most yabantwana bengakwazi uphuma bowuthetha ngenye ixesha is because of bangaba umzekelo kuyami case nabantu xela inyani kwakungxolwa ngengogrejwa kwam nepolice station. So uya-embarrasseka phakathi kwabantu. Uyayibona? So ke ngoku imagine umntana most abanye abantwana ke ngoku asokwazi uphuma yena oyithetha lento yakho ngoba uzothi xedla neetshomi zakhe phaya sikwazi ukumxelela ngalento because of kaloku akhangabe kanti ufumana i-treatment eyiyo. Uyayibona ukuthi ndithina ngayo but umntana makazixele into bangabana noba yintoni ayibonayo kuyo ayivayo kuyo engekho right makayiripote kwangethuba. Akekho umuntu onelungelo loba makaphathe umzimba womnye umuntu kungekho sivumelwano.
So for someone masithi because ndivile ba ubumenshina namadlozi. Yes, masithi awekho at all. And awufumani noncedo from emapoliseni.
Amapolisa xa ungafumani uncedo kaloku kukhona apha ekuhlaleni zibakhona sometimes into ezifana nasithi masithi abantu abafana nokuba kuthiwe ngabantu abalwele ukuhlala.
Oh yes.
Yayiva kwezinye areas bakhona abantu akuthiwa ngabantu abalwele abantu ukuhlala into bathi into nkanendi balibele xa bezibiza izinto. Kodwa
apha
ke apha ekuhlaleni.
Yes.
Kuyiyo apho uyakwazi ukuya kubo nabo bayakwazi ukuthi bakuthathe bakuthathelele case yakho bayise ngaphambili xa ungakwazi ungafuni ukuyireport apha endlini usoyika. Okanye ke usikubheke ke indawo uthitha kuye ngedora ngenza isibhedlele ezisikuthethwa ngaso eziba uzawufumana uncedo khona.
Yo
because isebenza i-24 hours.
Zola, final remarks?
Final remarks from me. I just want to say thank you for the platform, for allowing Beyond Zero just to speak about the programs that we have and the different services that we offer within our programs. And also just from, what was shared by Sweetness, I hope it reached, a lot of people, and it will also just encourage a lot of young people to not be afraid and to please come forward and report your human rights violations. There is assistance out there apart from, SAPS. Thank you.
Rochelle?
My final remarks will be just to thank everyone present here today for this platform and for Beyond Zero as well for inviting us to have the opportunity to speak from our side what we do and to advertise our services and to say that we are here to help. Please come report and get the help you need. And then secondly, just to say thank you for Sweetness for sharing her story. So many times I said to her, are you sure? Do you want to do this? Because this takes guts. So I want to thank you. And by doing this, I want you to know that I've told you this before. In sexual violence, I believe it's a lot about power, not the sexual urge. So, and research has shown that as well. So it's about the power that you have over your victim. So during her incidents, power was taken away. And this is her way of taking her power back and speaking to other survivors, future victims maybe, taking her power back and making a positive out of a very negative situation, doing something with her story, inspiring others to say, this is how positive you can be after something traumatic has happened to you, and this is what you can do to get that kind of help. We are there. We are open 24 hours at Tuduzela Care Center. Rape Crisis is available. Yeah.
Thank you. Sweetness?
Okay, ndithathile kuthiwa namputi ndizawubulela kusisi besihle nayo sisola, ndibulela nakuRochelle, ndibulela nakuba undiphe eli thuba loba ndizothetha namhlanje phakathi kwabantu, ndikhuthaza abantu abatsha, abantu abaneemeko ezifana nezi ezibehlelayo ukuba mabeze ngaphambili bazoxela ingxaki zabo. Enkosi.
Thank you for watching. Let's say, let's talk. Port violence support brought to you by Beyond Zero. Please, please, please follow our pages at Say It, Let's Talk on Facebook and Instagram, Let's Talk. Thank you. See you next time.
This podcast is brought to you by Beyond Zero for its adolescent and young people's program, Men Who Have Sex with Men program, and Transgender program. We are Beyond Zero.